welcome to Beginner's Guide to Nmap and Zenmap. Now, if you never heard of these programs before, if you're completely new to ethical hacking, penetration testing, computer networking, don't worry. I'm going to take you step by step what this tool is, how to install it on various operating systems like Windows, Linux, OS X, and how to use it in while you're running some of these scans. Nmap, as you're going to learn in this course, is a really incredible tool. It's a free tool, it's pretty easy to use, and it's extraordinarily powerful. So powerful that most hacking tools and pen testing tools, networking tools, will leverage Nmap or Zenmap in some sort of way. So again, if you're a beginner, if you have some experience, this is going to be perfect for you because again, we're going to walk through how to set up the installation for Windows, Linux, Mac. We're going to set up a virtual machine. So we're going to actually be installing a program called Metasploitable. That's going to be the server that we're going to be scanning against. And we're going to be going through and doing all sorts of scans. See if the IP is live, scanning a range of IPs. We're going to be scanning from a text file. We're going to be scanning to see if the host is alive, what operating system is running, what services are running, and a lot more. And as always, with any course that I make, if you have any questions or problems, go ahead and email me. Doesn't matter if you haven't started the course yet, if you're in the middle of the course, or even if you finished the course. Go ahead and email me. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And generally, I'm pretty good about getting back to people either that day or within a day or two. And it doesn't really matter if it's directly related to this. I've had people ask me questions and advice for different papers that they were writing on the subject matter that I was teaching on. So again, if you have questions, problems, feel free to email me. And again, I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And I really look forward to teaching you all about Nmap and Zenmap. So I'll see you in the next video. In this video, I want to give a real quick disclaimer about this course. Now, the Nmap software and Zenmap software has been around for a long time and has been vetted. But when you're running this software, I do advise that you don't scan IPs and networks that are outside of what you own or have authorization to do so. Scanning networks that don't belong to you may get you in trouble. That's why we're setting up a virtual lab for you to kind of play around with and to learn on it. So if you look in the description for this video, you will see a couple links in there, and I'll show you one of them real quick here. So it has a list of IP addresses that you should not scan, different ranges. And if you look it over, make sure that you don't scan those IP ranges because, as you can see here, they do belong to some facilities and networks that you don't want to get on the wrong side of, like the military, DoD, and whatnot. So keep that in mind. Take a look at it. For the most part, as long as you stick to your own network, computers that you own, the network that you own, and the virtual lab that you set up yourself, you really don't need to worry about these IPs. But it is here if you do want to reference it and to be sure. Again, always scan networks that you own, that you have written authorization to scan. So thank you. I'll see you in the next video. In this video, we're talking about Nmap and Zenmap and what it is. If you head over to https://nmap.org, it'll pull up the main page for the site and for the program. Now, as we see here, Nmap Network Mapper is a free open source utility for network discovery and security auditing. Now, this is an extraordinarily powerful tool that's available for Windows, Linux, and OS X. And it's if you ever get into ethical hacking, penetration testing, bug bounties, it's one of the critical programs that you do want to spend some time to learn. Fortunately, it's also pretty easy to use. And Zenmap, which is the graphical version of Nmap, is also really handy to use. It's basically the same thing as just kind of a graphical way to navigate it. Now, as we see here, many systems and network administrators also find it useful tasks such as network inventory, managing service upgrade schedules, monitoring a host, service uptime. You can Nmap uses raw IP packets in a novel way to determine what hosts are available on the network. You could do fingerprinting. You could do OS detection, see what services are running, uh, what type of packets and filters and firewalls are in use, and dozens of other characters. And it's a very quick tool to use. And if you're doing ethical hacking and pen testing, they also have things like stealth scanning, where it makes it harder for IDSs and IPSs, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems, from detecting it. And this is also going to be basically the same tools that a malicious hacker is going to use against you. This is all part of the actual scanning phase of hacking, whether you're a good guy or a bad guy. So again, this is a incredibly powerful tool. If you want to learn more about it, you can find it at https://nmap.org. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. In this video, we're going to be installing Nmap and Zenmap into Windows. And this is a pretty easy process. So if you open a web browser and you browse to https://nmap.org, it'll take you to this page. So what you want to do is on the sidebar here, click on the download link, and it'll take you to this page. So if we scroll down a little bit here, these are the two files you want to download. The latest stable release, which in this case is 7.70, and the npcap file, which is going to be for the, as we see here, pcap includes an installer, may not always be the latest version. This is going to help us with the network scanning. So once you download that, and I have it downloaded right here, you simply just click on the file and go through the installation process, which is pretty simple. So I'm going to click on yes, and of course you're going to have to agree to it, and we're going to leave this all default. I'm going to click next, next, and we're going to do the install. Okay, and then you're going to have to agree to the next license here. And in here we can leave this default here. And if you didn't want to download the pcap file, you always can click this here. But I already have it downloaded, so I'm just going to click on install. Okay, and we're just about done here. Okay, give that another minute. Okay, while that's installing, this is also where you're going to grab the Linux files if you need it, and also the OSX file, which is going to be a single file, this DMG file. And we're going to be looking at that in another video. Now let's go back here, let's take a look at our install. Okay, looks like it finished. I'm going to click next and finished. Okay, on this other one I'm going to click next and finish, next, finish. Okay, and our file's installed, and want to make sure that nCap file is installed here, so I'm going to click on that, yes, and it looks like it already exists, so I'm going to click no for this case, because it is already installed. Now if we look at the desktop here, this little eyeball here is going to be your Nmap and Zenmap GUI. So if I click on this, this is actually Zenmap. And this is going to be just like Nmap, but it is a graphical front end for Nmap. So I'm going to close that for now. And this was how to install Nmap and Zenmap for Windows. Again, a pretty easy install as you saw, really quick. And again, it's going to be a really powerful tool, and we're going to be doing a deeper dive into this in the later videos. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. In this video, we're going to be installing Nmap and Zenmap onto a OSX machine. Now, this is actually a pretty easy install, and it's also pretty nice that the OSX and the Windows installer has Zenmap bundled in. So that's one last install that you have to do. So if you head over to https nmap.org, it'll take you to this page. And from here, you just want to click on the download button, Mac OS X binaries, and click on the Nmap DMG file. So as the time of this recording, the current version is 7.70, and I went ahead and already downloaded to save some time. Now the install is around 30 megs, so pretty small. So next what you want to do is double click on the DMG file. And then you want to click on this Nmap MPKG file. Now if it gives you an error message that it's a web-based program, simply hold down the control key and click on it again. When it comes up, you just need to click the install. Matter of fact, let me close this out and see if I could get that to force it to do it. So let's try that again. I'm going to double click on here. Okay, let's see that. Simply hold down the control button, double click the file, and do open. Okay, then you want to click the open button again. Alright, and if it doesn't come up, double click that again and then it'll come up with this screen. So pretty easy, just continue, and if you want to change location you can. I'm just going to click install and enter your password. Okay, and it'll start the install. So again, pretty small install, really powerful program, installing both versions for us, Nmap and Zenmap. So we'll give this a minute to finish up here. Okay, so all installed. So we close this out, and we can close this. And the two ways you can run it is, if you click on your launchpad, you'll see the Zenmap icon here. That'll launch the Zenmap. Likewise, if you want to run Nmap, open up your terminal, and you just need to type in Nmap and whatever command you want to do. So I'm going to do nmap space -h for the help file to show you that Nmap is indeed installed. So there you go. So really easy install. This was all about installing Nmap and Zenmap to an OS X machine, and we're going to be diving more into Nmap and Zenmap in a later videos. So I'll see you there. In this video we're going to be installing Nmap and Zenmap onto a Linux machine. Now if you're a Kali Linux user, it's going to be pre-installed on your computer. But in this case I'm going to be installing to a Ubuntu machine, so it's not already installed. So the first thing you need to do is open your terminal. Now once that's done, you want to type in sudo sudo space apt-get space install, and then you want to type in nmap. Okay, and I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to type in my password. Okay, and it's going to go through the install process. Now this is going to be pretty quick. Nmap is actually a pretty small program. Okay, and we're done. So I'm going to type in clear the screen out, and I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to type in sudo space apt-get space install space zenmap. Okay, and I'm going to hit the enter key. And it's going to ask me, do I want to perform this? I'm going to type in Y and hit enter. It's going to go through the install process. And again, this is a pretty small program. Okay, I think we're just about done here. It's going to be a little bit longer than Nmap because it is a graphical front end. So, and we're done. So both are pretty small installs. They're really easy to install. Again, all you have to do is run the apt-get space install command, and you can install the programs on your Linux system. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. In this video, we're going to be setting up a virtual lab. Now, if you're not familiar with virtual labs, a virtual lab is essentially where you take your machine and you create, well, a computer lab out of it. Meaning that, say, for this computer, for example, is a Windows 10 machine. Even though it's running Windows 10, I can run another machine in a virtual environment that's Linux. I can have another one that's Windows XP, and I can have all these running at the same time and interacting with each other. And as far as those virtual machines think, they think that they're an actual physical computer that's basically just using the resources off my main computer. So this comes in really handy for doing things like experiments, computer lab, networking and whatnot. And for our purpose, it comes in really useful because we can then scan a particular machine. We're going to be using a Metasploitable machine to run the scans against versus scanning other physical computers and potentially scanning the wrong computer network and get ourselves into trouble. So Metasploitable, real quick, is a virtual server that has a bunch of services running on it, and it's designed to be, well, exploitable. It's great for if you're a pen tester, a ethical hacker, you want to learn networking, things like that. Because again, it does have all these different services running. They are vulnerable, so you can kind of poke at those little vulnerabilities and kind of learn how to shore up those security holes. So the first thing you want to grab is VirtualBox. It can be found at virtualbox.org. Now this is a free program from Oracle. It does work with Windows, Linux, and OS X. And that's the reason why I'm choosing this. Now there's a lot of other virtualization software out there, but this one actually runs pretty well for the most part, and it does work on all three major operating systems. Now to download it, you just want to click on this big blue box that says, well, download VirtualBox. And at the moment it's version 5.2, the time of this recording. Once you get on the download page, you simply just click whatever your operating system is. And I already went ahead and did that ahead of time so we could save a little time here. So I'm going to open this. I'm going to install VirtualBox. So on my Windows computer, I'm just going to click on it. I'm going to click Next, Next, Next. I'm just going to do all defaults. Next, install. And I'm going to say yes. Go ahead and install that. Okay, as you see, it's a pretty quick install. Okay, and I'm going to do finish, and it's going to start VirtualBox. Now the other file you want to grab is this Metasploitable 2. So if you do a search for Metasploitable 2, it'll take you to the SourceForge page. And if you click on here, it's sourceforge.net/projects/Metasploitable, and click on the download button. It's about 800, just under 900 megs, so it is going to take a little while. So again, I went ahead and downloaded it. And all you do is extract out the files, and you'll see these VMDK files. These are virtualization files. So this is actually set up for VMware, which is a free program. You can grab the free version, Virtual VMware Player, which will work on Windows and Linux. It's not going to work on OS X though, but we can still run in VirtualBox. So to do that, what you want to do is open up your VirtualBox and click on New. And you can name this whatever you want. I'm going to just type in Demo Meta and type, you really don't need to set this part. I'm just doing this just to make it a little bit easier. All this does is kind of tells the computer about what to expect. So if I put down Windows, it's going to choose more hard drive space and more memory. If I choose Linux, it's going to choose less hard drive space, less storage. And it's going to do that because it wants to choose, the bare minimum to run it. So I'm going to click Next. I'm going to leave all this in default, so yeah, I could have a gig of memory. It's going to create a virtual hard disk. And I'm going to leave that VDI. I'll leave it dynamic. Dynamic just means that the hard drive, if I say you have 20 gigs of space or 10 gigs of space, it's not going to use all that space. It's not going to partition that out. It's just going to use, say if it's only using 2 gigs, it's only going to use 2 gigs of physical space. And if it needs more, it'll scale all the way up to whatever you set the maximum to. Okay, so again, I'm going to leave that default. I'm just going to click Create, and there we go. So on here, I am going to click this. I'm going to right click this. I'm going to go to Settings. Okay, then we want to go down to Storage. Then you want to click this little hard drive looking thing with the plus. I'm going to click this. I'm going to do Choose Existing Disk. Okay, and you want to navigate wherever your folder is for your Metasploitable. So I'm going to click on the Metasploitable. It's the VMDK. It should be the only file that shows up here. I click on OK, and OK again, and that should be good to go. So to run this, all you need to do is either highlight and click Start, or you can just double click this. So let's fire this up and make sure it's going to work right. Okay, so it looks like it is running right. It's loading up our virtual machine here. And this is just telling us a mouse pointer integration. I'm going to just close that dialog there. And let's see, give root password. I'm just going to hit enter out of this stuff. Give root password, or Control D to continue. Control D. Okay, and this is just initializing our Metasploitable server here. And you can see all the different services are loading up here. FTP, Pro FTPD, OpenBSD, Apache 2, and here we go. So the default login is msfadmin, and the password is going to be the same. So if I do msfadmin and password msfadmin, okay, it's going to take us in our machine. I'm going to do ifconfig. Okay, and we do have an IP address, 10.2.0.15. So that's all it takes to set up a virtual machine. So really easy, really cool. And again, this is, as far as this thing here thinks, it's its own machine. And as you can see here, I have several different virtual machines. I work with virtual machines quite a bit. So yeah, I have my Windows XP machine. That was great for doing some initial exploit testing. I have a Windows test machine here. That's Windows 8.1. I have my Kali Linux machines here. 2018 version 3 and 1. Buscador, I use that for doing OSINT work. Dojo, and a few other things. So again, this was all about setting up a virtual lab, and I highly encourage you to set one up if you're going to do scanning for this course and anything else. And again, if you get anything else like ethical hacking, networking, pen testing, bug bounty, and that, this is a really great thing to set up and use. Instead of having a bunch of computers, spending a lot of money on computers and space and whatnot, you could have everything running on one machine. So again, this was setting up a virtual machine with VM Virtual Player and also Metasploitable 2. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the help command for Nmap and Zenmap. Now, it's pretty easy. It's going to be basically the same thing as it's going to be for any other Linux program. And if you're not familiar with Linux, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through it right now. So let me clear out the screen here, and I already have Nmap and Zenmap installed here. So if I want to pull up the help menu for Nmap, I'm going to type in Nmap space help, or dash help rather. Okay, I'm going to enter, and in here you can see all the different help commands that Nmap has. Scroll down to here. Let me actually expand this out so it's a little bit easier to read. Okay, as we see here, target use Nmap. Then you type the scan type and the option and the target. Target specifications can't pass host names, IP addresses, networks, etc. And they give you a nice example here. Scanme.nmap.org, Microsoft 24, IP addresses, IP range, and in here they give you the different commands here. IL, IR, remember this is Linux, so it is going to be case sensitive, and so on. And if you ever get stuck, if you forget a command, don't forget to do -H after the program name. So nmap-H, if you get stuck in Nmap, it's going to pull this menu up here, and you always can go back and you could reference this chart here. So that's going to be really useful. So let me clear this out, and we're going to do the same thing for Zenmap. So I'm going to type in Zenmap space -H, and we have different things in here. So version, --version, -N for Nmap profile, target for both. Matter of fact, let me type in Zenmap and hit enter. Oh, and we have to be root to do that. Okay, so in here, the other way to pull up help commands, especially for Zenmap, is to actually launch it, and then you can go to help, and of course there's a help function here where you can do Control H, and that'll pull up the help function for you, or you can do the about, and you can see all additional information here. So again, since Zenmap is a graphical front end, it is going to have a HTML document that you could reference here. So if you click here, you can go to the Nmap documentation directory, uh, Nmap online docs, Zenmap web page. So we click that, it'll take us to the web page. So a lot of great information here. And this is the Nmap page. Nmap is also part of Zenmap. So again, don't forget, if you're using Nmap-H, Zenmap, you always can go to the Help tab and browse the website here. So a lot of great resources, and really useful if you ever get stuck or you can't remember a command, or maybe you're looking for another command that you're not sure about exists in Nmap. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. In this video, we're going to be doing some basic Nmap scanning. Now, basic as in we're not going to be using control switches, which we're going to be taking a look at later videos. Now, the control switches allow you to do things like fingerprinting, see if the host is up, scan for ports and whatnot. Again, this is going to be some very basic scans, but this is going to be the basis for doing deeper scans later. Now, the scans that we're going to be running against primarily are going to be for my Metasploitable machine, which I have running here. So let's get started. Now, to do a basic IP scan, you do type in nmap space and whatever the IP address is, and you want to type this into your terminal. Now, in my case, it's going to be 10.0.2.15. That's going to be my Metasploitable machine. As you see, it scanned it. The host is up. Yeah, it took 0.11 seconds to scan, so pretty cool. And to do for basic scans, in addition to this being the basis for any other scan, you could also use this for just to see if certain hosts are up versus doing a regular ping scan. Now, Nmap also allows you to scan hosts. Now, host is going to be a website address, so either say if you don't know the IP address for the website, which is going to be pretty common, or you don't feel like typing it in, you could do a scan against a website. Now, I want to show you something really quick. Nmap does have a website that you can scan, which is going to be scanme.nmap.org. Now, this is pretty cool. It probably going to be kind of a slow scan, so I'm not going to be using that particular address, but again, it's something that they allow you to scan against, and I don't advise you scanning against website addresses that you don't own or that you don't have express permission to do so. I also don't recommend abusing this nmap.org scan me page. It is a free service, so try not to abuse it. Now, to scan against a website, you simply do nmap space and whatever the URL is. So if you're going to do the nmap one, don't type in www because you're going to have a problem with it. But in my case, I'm going to be scanning my own website here. So I'm going to do www. So www.disposablegamesstudio.weebly.com. So again, don't scan any websites that you don't own. Now, as we see here, it scanned it, has a R record, port, HTTP, HTTPS, and the host is up. So pretty cool. Now, you can also scan entire subnets. Let me clear this out. Now, say nmap space, say I have a whole IP range I want to scan. Now, the use case for this would be something like if I'm doing a pen test and I pull an IP address, say I get a 10.0.2.30 address, but I want to see what else is on this particular network. You could do a subnet scan. Now, to do that, you do nmap space and whatever the IP range is. So in my case, it's going to be 10.0.2.1/24. Now, what that /24 means, it's going to scan the whole range. So it's scan everything from 1 to 255. So I'm going to hit enter. It's going to do the scan, and depending on how much there is, it's going to depend on how quickly this runs. Since I only really have one other machine on this IP subnet, it came up with one address, and the host is up. So again, pretty cool ability to do this, and it's especially great for kind of host discovery, finding out what other computers are on that network. So I'm going to clear this out. Now the last thing I want to show you for this video is if you have a text file, you can actually start loading a bunch of IP addresses in there. So for this demo I only loaded one, but say you have specific computers that you want to run scans against and you know the IP address. If you dump that in a text file, you can use Nmap to scan that. And we're going to take a look at that now. So you want to navigate to whatever folder it's in. In my case it's on the desktop, so I'm going to do CD for change directory, and then I'm going to type in desktop. And if you're new to Linux, Linux is case sensitive, so be sure to type in whether it's uppercase or lowercase. Okay, I'm going to do ls to show the file. There's my file here. Okay, let's clear this out, and let's do a scan. So if you're going to use a text file, it's pretty simple. You do nmap space dash lowercase I uppercase L. Now that means that you're having Nmap read this particular file. Now type in whatever the text file name is. My case is ip.txt, and hit enter. Okay, and as we see, it did a regular Nmap scan against that IP address. So really cool. Again, the use case is if you have a bunch of IP addresses in a text file that you want to scan, instead of typing one at a time or typing a whole long thing out, if you have a text file with it, simply just have Nmap scan the whole text file. So this was some basic Nmap target scans. In the next video we're going to be getting a deeper dive into Nmap. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. In this video we're going to be doing some basic port scanning with Nmap. Now the general use case for this would be if you want to see a particular port's open or not on a host machine, or if you're an ethical hacker or pen tester, you want to see again if certain ports are open, for that way you can try to exploit certain vulnerabilities. This is where this would come in handy. So I'm going to open my terminal here on my Linux machine, and I'm going to do nmap space, and for a single port you do -p and whatever the port is. Say we want to scan port 20. Now I'm going to scan this against my Metasploitable machine that I have running here. So I'm going to do 10.0.2.15. And we see here that port 20 is closed. And also we see what service it is. It's FTP-data port. So pretty handy. It tells us, again, the type of port, if it's open or closed, and the service that runs on that particular port. So we do clear. You can also do a scan a whole range of ports. So if I do nmap space -p for port, and I do 1 through 100, it's going to scan, actually let's shorten that up, 1 through 20. It's going to scan port 1 through 20, and then we type in our IP address. So 10.0.2.15. And this comes in handy for, again, if you will just want to start doing you know a certain port range that you want to try to scan or see if hit. And we can see here port 1 is closed, TCP MUX, crossnet unknown, RJE, and it looks like all those ports are indeed closed. Now let's clear that out. Now you can do scan the top 100 common ports. Now if we do nmap space dash uppercase F, and then our IP 10.0.2.15. Okay, it looks like I'll scan all 100 ports. They are closed, and one IP did come up. And you could also do a full scan of all ports. Again, this is going to be a pretty big scan, so you're looking at around over 65,000 ports. So if we do nmap space, and we do dash, let me back up here, dash p, lowercase p, dash, and then the IP 10.0.2.15, and we can scan every port on that machine. So really cool. Again, this is just some simple port scanning with Nmap. And next video we're going to be taking a look at a little bit deeper look into doing port scanning with Nmap. So I'll see you then. In this video we're going to do some basic service and OS detection scans with Nmap. So the first one I'm going to do is a detect OS and service. So I have my terminal open here. I'm going to do Nmap space dash capital A and then the IP address. So we're going to do 192.168.46.128. And remember, this IP is going to be whatever device or that you're or VM that you're scanning. So we're going to start this one up here. And I'm going to pause the video because this may take a couple minutes. And we're back. So that scan did take about 5-7 minutes against my Metasploitable machine, which is local. So again, that is kind of a slow scan, but we can see there's a lot of information here. We can see Apache Tomcat is running on here. We can see the version. It's Linux, Samba, NetBIOS name, and whatnot. So pretty cool scan. So let me clear this out here so we can get started with our next one. So this is going to be for a standard service detection. So to do that, I'm going to do Nmap space dash lowercase s uppercase v and then the IP address. So 192.168.46.128 in my case, and click enter, and we're going to start the scan. Okay, and again I'm going to pause the video while this is scanning. We're back again, and again this scan did take probably about 5-6 minutes here. But let's take a look at what we found. So after we ran the scan, we can see a bunch of open ports here. We can see the port address, the type of connection, TCP, whether it's open or closed, and the service, so TCP and the version. So in this case, SFTPD and the version 2.3.4. Now stuff like this is really handy because I know offhand that this version of VSFTPD is vulnerable to a remote attack that's actually pretty successful when you run Metasploit. So things like this can help us learn that if we're a pen tester, type of vulnerabilities that a server or a computer might have running that we could potentially exploit. As a security professional, again, the same thing. Things that that we might need to take a look at and update or eliminate. So again, really handy to be able to see what's running on these devices. And again, we can see the open ports, the service, and even right down to the version with the scan. So really handy. And in the next video, we're going to be taking a look at some more Nmap scanning. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you a couple additional scans here for Nmap. So I'm going to open my terminal here. And the first one we're going to do is we're going to detect if the remote host is using a packet filter or firewall. So in order to do that, we want to do Nmap space dash lowercase s uppercase a and then whatever the IP address is. So in this case, I'm going to do 192.168.46.128, and this is going to be my Metasploitable machine. Okay, and this requires root privilege, so I'm going to do sudo nmap space dash lowercase s uppercase a and then 192.168.46.128 and hit enter. And type in my password, and we're going to do the scan here. Okay, so as we see here, the ports are open and it's unfiltered. Now let me clear this out. Now the next one we could run is we could do a firewall scan. So in order to do that, we could do nmap space dash uppercase P, uppercase N, and then the IP address. So 192.168.46.128, and we're going to run the scan here. And this is handy if you're doing a pen test, that way you know whether you're going to be up against a packet filter or a firewall. Okay, give that a minute to finish up here. And coming up next, we're going to take a look at a fast scan if you just want to do a real quick Nmap scan, and also do a stealth scan. Okay, so here we go. Now see here, we can see all the ports here, and it looks like there's no firewall. So let's clear this out, and let's do our fast scan. Fast scan is going to be nmap space dash uppercase F and then the IP address. 128, and hit enter. Okay, and as see, that was a pretty quick scan. It shows us the ports, whether they're open or closed, and the service running. Okay, clear that out. And the last one we're going to do is a stealth scan. So some of these scans, depending on what you're running, can be really noisy if there's an intrusion detection system or a admin actually keeping a lookout for stuff. So what you can do is you can do what's called the stealth scan. That's going to be a as the name implies, it's going to be a more stealthy scan. It's going to be harder for a intrusion detection system or say a sysadmin to see that you're scanning their network. Now in order to do that, you want to do nmap space dash lowercase s, uppercase s, and then the IP address. So I'm going to do 192.168.46.128. Again, that's my Metasploitable machine. And this is going to require root privileges, so sudo space nmap space dash lowercase s, uppercase s, and then the IP. Okay, and hit enter. And we're going to do our stealth scan. Okay, again, that was pretty quick, only took 3.72 seconds, but that is a stealthier scan for, again, intrusion detection systems and network admins to detect. So that was additional scanning with Nmap. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so in this video we're going to take a look at two different ways to run an Nmap scan and save it as a file. So the first one I want to show you is how to save it as a text file. So we're going to do nmap space dash lowercase o uppercase n, then we're going to name our output file. So I'm going to just name it nmap.txt. So we're going to be saving this as a text file named nmap. And then we're going to use a target address. In my case, I'm going to use my Metasploitable machine. 128. Okay, I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to start doing a basic nmap scan. And it's going to output it as nmap.txt. Now, this here isn't specified where it's going to save, so it's going to save to the root of my directory. Now, the advantage of doing this is, if you're doing an nmap scan and you want to save the results and review it later, this is a great way to do it. It's going to output whatever you see on the screen as a text file. Again, if you're doing a scanning a wide network, you just need a dump of the file and reference it back later. Great way to do it. That way you can shut down your machine, go back, reference it later. The other way I'm going to show you after this one is you could save it as an XML file. So if you're not familiar with XML, basically a Excel file. Great advantage of this is you can manipulate the cells, you convert it to a CSV file depending on what you're going to do with that information. Certain programs could actually import XML files into itself to do other things with that information. Okay, so you see we finished here. It took just over a minute here. So I'm going to open up my File Explorer here, and you can see the Nmap file here. And if I open this up, the the two of them match, so it outputted this information into a text file. So again, really, really handy. So let me close that out. I'm going to clear this out. And now we're going to do an XML version. So I'm going to do nmap space, and then we're going to do dash o, lowercase o, uppercase x. We're going to name our output file. So I'm going to name it nmap x.xml. Okay, so it's going to name the file nmap x.xml, and then we're going to put our target address in, of course, 192.168.46.128. Okay, we're going to run that, and it's going to be running an Nmap scan against our favorite Metasploitable machine, and it's going to export it as an XML file. So this should take roughly about the same amount of time. Okay, so you can see the files being generated here. We'll give that about 1 minute to run. Okay, and again, especially if you output this as XML file, there's different programs that could potentially take XML files, especially if you're doing things like vulnerability assessments, Wi-Fi scanning. A lot of different programs will output as an XML file, and you can take that XML file, import in another program to import that information. Okay, so that should be just about done. Yep, there we go. Just finished up. So let's open this up here. Okay, and there's our XML file that you can open up with OpenOffice, or you could also open up on a Microsoft Office machine. So this was outputting Nmap scans as a text file and as a XML file. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at Zenmap. Now Zenmap is a graphical user interface version of Nmap. It's essentially the same program, but it is a little bit easier to use in terms of it does have a GUI. Now I'm going to start it up here on my Linux machine here. I'm just going to go browse for Zenmap. Okay, and we're going to double click that, and we're going to run this thing. Trying to run Zenmap as a non-privileged root. Okay, so I'm just going to click OK, and here we go. Now again, this essentially runs the same thing as Nmap, but I do advise you to learn Nmap, even though you could just jump straight to Zenmap and do the same scans. It is important to kind of learn the basics. That's why I showed you Nmap first. Now, for this, it's pretty easy. All you do is enter in your target, so whatever IP that you want to scan, and on the profile, if you do the drop-down box, you could do all these different scans here. So you could do intent scan, you could do a UDP scan, ping scan, quick scan, scan plus, trace route, regular scan, and comprehensive scan. You could also, if you want to, you could just type in whatever commands you want. If whatever scan that you're looking for isn't there, you could simply type that in. Type directly in the command line. It's going to be the same thing. So let me run Metasploitable 2 here. Actually, let's see. That looks like it's still running here. So let me see if I could ping that one. That's a little bit different one. Ping 10.0.2.255. 0.2.255. Okay, let me close out of that. Let me close this one out here. Let me go back to my actual Metasploitable that I've been using. Okay, we're just going to fire that up here. Metasploitable 2. Give that a second to run here. Okay, while that's coming up here, let me give you a little bit of demo here. So in here, as we start scanning, it's going to list the hosts and the OS here. We can see the different tabs here. Here's the output, port and host, topology, host detail, and scan. So this does offer a lot more details in terms of after you do the scan. So let's go back here. Let's see how this is coming along. Looks like it's almost started. But again, Zenmap is a really cool tool. You do get some additional information out of it. But again, you should kind of go over the basics for Nmap before you jump into Zenmap. Again, because there might be some additional scans you want to do, especially that might not be listed on the Zenmap. Okay, so that looks like it's up and running. MSF admin. Let's see what the IP is. Okay, I'm going to do ifconfig. Okay. Okay, looks like we are 10.0.2.15. Okay, let's see if we can ping that. See what our IP is, 10.0.2.15. Okay, that is probably bridged, which is okay. We're actually, you know what, I'm going to do a scan against ourselves, which is going to be okay too. So let's scan ourselves. I'm going to do 10.0.2.15. Now profile, again, you could click the drop down box and you could do all sorts of scan here. So I'm going to do a regular scan first. I'm going to click the scan button. And as you see here, it's the host is virtual demo virtual, and it did the port scan, IP addresses up, and did the scan in 0.11 seconds. If I click this drop down box, we could do a more comprehensive scan. We could do a ping scan, we could do a trace route. Let's do a intent scan. See how long that takes. It shouldn't take too long here. Okay, and as you see here, it pulled up additional information here. So we have it completed, it did a ping, we see and one IP up. If we do a port host, let's see information there. We can see the topology here. Here's our local host. Here's our virtual box at 10.0.2.15. You can see the host detail information here, and you can see the scan. We did a regular scan and we did an intent scan. So if I click here, we could do all sorts of scans here. We could do slow comprehensive scan. Do the drop down, you scan. Okay, and that thing wants to be root. So if it does require, if you're trying to do a scan that it doesn't like, it wants root, I'm going to close out of this. Go down here, and this is going to be more for Linux. Click on the Zenmap as root. Okay, and you're going to have to type your root password. Okay, got that running, and we're going to put our IP 10.0.2.15, and we're going to do an intent scan and click the scan button. Okay, and you can see it's actually going through too many fingerprints, 0 hops, initiating. And again, you can see the topology, some of the details about it, comments, if there are any comments, and the type of scans that were ran against it. So again, really cool. It's a lot easier in trying to remember your commands, but again, if you want to really do a custom scan, I advise you to do Nmap, not Zenmap. But again, this is just a easy, quick way to do these scans also. And also, there, if you want to try to find services, it's a little bit easier to read too when you're looking at this information. So this was a video about Zenmap. And again, don't skip over the Nmap part. It's important to learn your Nmap scans and go through that first. But again, Zenmap's here. It's a great tool, really easy to use, and it's really good for kind of quick scans for point information, just kind of a little bit easier on the eyes to kind of parse through that info. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Before we finish out the course, I did want to say congratulations on finishing. Now, you should have a basic understanding on how Nmap works, how to do scans, and should be able to pull a lot of good information. Again, Nmap is really important if you get into ethical hacking, networking, and bug bounties and whatnot. And again, this course should give you a pretty good foundation for learning how to use Nmap. So I do encourage you to go check out nmap.org. They do have some really other great tutorials on there to help you through things like advanced scripting and that. And as a way of saying thank you, I want to give you two coupons. So one is for a course I made, Beginner's Guide to Ethical Hacking and Penetration Testing. That course will walk you through how to get into ethical hacking and pen testing, talk about bug bounties, and goes over quite a bit of information. The course is somewhere around 8.5 hours. And the other one is OSINT, Open Source Intelligence, which is another really critical thing to learn if you get into information security. And if you look in the notes for this section of the video, you'll find two coupons where you can get each course for $10. So again, it's just my way of saying thank you to you for taking this course. And as always, if you have any questions, go ahead and just send me a message. And I generally try to get back to people the same day or the next day. And thank you for taking the course again, and hope to see you in another video sometime. Take care.